Shi Zhiyong.
Unlike Shi Zhiyong's absolutely dominant career, his Olympic gold medal, his 3 World Championship titles and his 10 world records, his win at the 49th Challenge 210 was somewhat happenstance. With the way the new Olympic qualification system is laid out, Shi did not need to compete at this competition. He didn't even need to weigh in. He was so far ahead of everyone in his weight class worldwide at the end of the second qualification period, over 600 Roby points ahead of CJ Cummings, who was sitting in second place, that after this one competition where he weighed in heavy and ended up competing as an 81 kilo lifter, he ended up sitting as the highest ranked 81 kilo lifter in the world as well. Team China turned up to this competition in Switzerland in full force. Lu Xiaojun, Shi Zhiyong, Li Dayin, Li Feibin, Feng Ludong, Tian Tao, Li Wenwen, and Yang Zi, but to name a few of them, it was a complete all-star lineup. Now, because it was the final competition of the second qualification period, some of them just wanted to get in their 4th or even 5th competition in order to alleviate some of the pressure from the third and final qualification period. That way, they would only need to lift at either the World Cup this December or at the Asian Championships in April, and not necessarily both. It wasn't actually until Tian Tao was already up at 110 kilos in the snatch that Shi Zhiyong leapt up and decided that he would lift, because he really didn't need to do so and he hadn't planned on it. The issue was he didn't actually have his shoes or a singlet with him, so he went over to Lu Xiaojun, who had decided not to compete because he was nursing his back injury, and he asked whether he could use Lu's famous gold antlers and his blue China singlet. And that's the story as to why Shi Zhiyong was actually wearing what he is in competition. It's also the reason why you can see Shi lifting on multiple platforms. He was essentially way behind the others in the warm-up, so had to make some crazy jumps, his 110 to 130 power snatch being one of them. So here he is running over hastily to Tian Tao's platform to try and catch up. It just blows my mind that he actually missed 130 kilos in the back room twice before making it, and then going out and power snatching 150 kilos, 89% of his own world record, more than most of the elite international 73s can even fully snatch. 2 days before this, Shi got in another training session, which I also filmed in its entirety. He works up to some more heavy power snatches, again actually missing 130 kilos before making it. He did a bunch of really heavy pulls too, and I've uploaded the entirety of that session to the Weightlifting House Patreon page. It's a Christmas come early over there. The link's down below if you want to check it out. Now, the difference in height between where Shi catches this 130 and where he missed the 130s in the back room is night and day. He really does love kind of playing up to the crowd. And when he came out to lift, the crowd was absolutely blown away. I don't think really anyone could fathom witnessing that kind of strength and power in person, especially because traditionally for 48 years this has been somewhat of a local meet. And so people have turned up year after year and seen some great lifting, but never seen anything quite like this. Had it not been for the fact that I have filmed a lot of Shi Zhiyong over the last few months, you'd probably hear some more audible gasps from me as well.
Team China, Shi Zhiyong.
Now, this final snatch at 150 kilos is, to my mind, arguably the most impressive power snatch ever in competition. I say arguably because there's a chance that there's a lift that I haven't seen before, but I can't think of anything close to this in competition as a power snatch. I've got a really good story about my interactions with Shi Zhiyong that I think you guys will probably really enjoy. So the night before this competition, I was eating in the restaurant with some of the guys who work at Lu Xiaojun Barbell, and we were sitting just a table over from Shi Zhiyong and the rest of the Chinese team. It was already planned that that evening I would drive to Team China's hotel about 30 minutes away from where we were currently eating and interview Lu Xiaojun, and the videos will be out soon. But after dinner, the team bus turned up, so the team all got on and they headed off back to their hotel. But just as I was walking to the car with the Lu Xiaojun Barbell guys, we realised that Shi Zhiyong had missed the bus. I don't know how, I don't know where he'd been, but he'd missed it. And so before I really knew what was happening, Shi Zhiyong had walked over to my car, I clicked the unlock button from inside my pocket, and before I knew it, he was sat in the front passenger seat of my rental car. So for the next 30 minutes, I drove the Olympic champion to his hotel room whilst interviewing him with the help of the guys translating for me who were sitting in the back. And at one point I asked them if they could ask him why he always yells "Wo Chao" after he lifts and what exactly it means. So after he'd heard my question, he started laughing, and it turns out that it means F***. They tell me and I laugh, and then Shi Zhiyong then kind of cottons onto the fact that I've only just realised what it is that he actually says. And he finds that funny, and so he starts yelling at the top of his voice in English, "F***," over and over again as the guys in the back laughed. And this is just one of the most surreal experiences of my life, to be a fan of the sport, a fan of his, and to find myself in Switzerland driving him at 11 PM at night whilst he swears next to me. And it was actually because of this exact moment that I asked them if I could bring out a Weightlifting House Shi Zhiyong Wo Chao t-shirt, and he agreed and they said it was okay. So I'll put up a photo for you guys. If you want to grab one, there's a link down below. But he said that he had started yelling Wo Chao when he was a kid, and that he knew that he shouldn't do it because it's really rude, but now it's just a reflex that he can't avoid. In fact, I actually started noticing whilst I was there, if you listen out, there are certain other Chinese weightlifters who have started doing the same thing. Li Dayin is actually one of them. She told me that his best ever snatch in training is 171 kilos, his best clean and jerk is 206, his best front squat is 255 kilos, and he did that as a 69 kilo lifter before the 2016 Olympic Games. He also said that he wanted to try and front squat 260 this winter, which is just an extraordinary surplus of strength over his teammates. He also said that he has snatch grip deadlifted 255 kilos, and he has clean grip deadlifted 275 kilos, but he doesn't back squat. Another question I'm often asked is why Shi power cleans in competition so much, most notably this absurd 190 kilo opener that I filmed at Worlds this year. A lift that actually won him the total, so I made sure to ask him about that too, and he said that this is just how he trains, so he always powers everything until he no longer can. And as it turns out in training, that line between power and full in the clean tends to be at about 200 kilos. So that blew my mind, and it blew my mind for a few reasons. Not only because, we've never seen strength like that before in a 73 kilo weightlifter to power clean over 190 kilos, but also because of the lack of practice at the skill of the full clean that he gets. And of course, he spent a decade or more honing in ideal technique as he developed in the sport, and so he can take such liberties now. But I certainly wouldn't recommend that to basically anyone else except for him. At just 26 years of age and less than a year away from almost certainly winning his second Olympic Games, Shi Zhiyong has set the stage for one of the most successful careers our sport has ever seen.
From China, Shi Zhiyong.
We should all feel privileged to be witnessing such virtuosity in the sport.